Hey, how's it going? My name is Mark Harris. Some of you may remember me as I used to attend here about 4 or 5 years ago. When I had first gotten out of the Marine Corps in 2013, I was very lost, confused, and hurt and broken, going through so many different things that I didn't know how to deal with on my own. And even though I was coming here, what a lot of people didn't know at the time is that I was still hurting and suffering. I would come to church, put on a smile, and I would leave and just be broken, completely and utterly, totally broken. And I was trying to carry that load on my own. And I'm going to give you the short version of this testimony because I could be here for the next hour telling you the whole story. But some of you may know my sister became addicted to methamphetamines. When that happened, I started trying to do everything I could to get her off the streets. And I was still holding up all this bitterness and brokenness inside me. And that's kind of what drove me to try to find her, because I was mad at the world that they had taken my sister from me. So that kind of fueled that passion to find her. Long story short, she ended up at a faith-based rehab, and when she got there, this was some 3 years into her addiction, when she got there, she invited me to the church that ran the rehab, and I was like, whatever. I hadn't been to church probably 4 years, no, 2 years at that point. And so I was like, whatever, sure, I'll go. Reluctantly I went. I just wanted to be a supportive brother at that point. But when I got there, the preacher was preaching on the very thing that I needed to hear. And I was so lost and broken still at that point that I felt like there was no way that God could ever use me. And he was talking about how God used Paul, how God used Moses, how God used King David, all of which were either murderers, adulterers. They were worse than you and I, most of you and I could say we are. But I'd been through so much in my life at that point that I felt completely useless, probably much like Paul did. And he preached about how God, or Jesus the shepherd, would leave the 99 to find the one. And when that happens, all the angels of God will celebrate over the one. And I was that one. And it's like 1 Corinthians 15, verses 9 and 10 says, Paul, the murderer of Christians, said, "For I am the least of the apostles, and I am not worthy to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God, I am what I am." And once I heard that verse, I completely fell in love with that verse. It woke me up, and I realized God can use me despite myself. In spite of me, God still loves me. And that's the great thing about our God, is that His grace is just, it's the source of our freedom. And I stand before you today as a free man, free from the brokenness, the hurt, the anxiety, the depression, the PTSD, all gone. And I didn't have to do it myself. I spent so many years trying to do it myself, and the whole time all I needed was Jesus. So, with that being said, that's kind of the story behind this song. It's called Freedom. And it's basically my testimony song that I wrote, and it has to do with me and my sister. It's kind of a combination of the two. So, God bless you guys.